This company's never been more profitable.
You mean hugely profitable?
I like it.
DavePorter.com presents The Profitable Cleaner, a podcast on commercial cleaning sales and entrepreneurship. The one podcast that's not afraid to discuss real sales strategies with real cleaning professionals that produce real profits and real results.
All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to The Profitable Cleaner. Today's going to be a different type of show, and I'm super excited. If you've noticed, we've been bringing in guests that have nothing to do with commercial cleaning, but can also impact the CEO. So today, we get the introduction of Mr. Coach Moe with Training with the Titans. How are you, sir?
Doing great. Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. I know the moments that I've worked with you when it comes down to my fitness, my dieting has been the time where I've seen the results the fastest. It was like really weird, but it works really well. And I didn't feel like I was sacrificing too much. So can you tell the people a little bit about Training with the Titans? How'd you become Coach Moe? And then we'll get into some fitness and dieting.
Yeah, man. So Training with the Titans was a fitness coaching company. I started it exactly 5 years ago, actually, this week. So, yeah,
Congrats.
You guys are business people. So, every year we're in business a good year. But, yeah, so I started right after college. I didn't go to college for any of this. I went to college for software engineering and computational biology. The goal was to go become a doctor to eradicate heart disease. Like, that was the passion. Heart disease continues to be the number one cause of death in America and the world. So I was like, okay, I'm going to become a cardiologist. And then I started working in a hospital all throughout college, 5-6 years. And I realized I'm like, the kind of impact I want to have on the world is mostly preventative instead of like, hey, this person is having a heart attack, save them. Right. So for myself, I was overweight, tried everything to get in shape, tried following every diet out there. It just wouldn't work until I started working with a fitness coach and got mentored by him personally. And I learned that 90% of the things that people are doing to get in shape do not work. And they just lead to further frustration and they just keep yo-yo dieting, right? It's like, I tried it for 10 days, didn't work, repeat, and then the next time they get a motivation, maybe 3 years later, and it's just never works, right? So when I cracked the code, I won my first physique show like 6 years ago. And I remember feeling like, man, I can teach this to others. And at that time, people started asking me fitness questions. They're like, hey, like all my engineering friends and colleagues in corporate America, they're like, yeah, man, like I've been trying to do this. It just didn't work. I tried going to the gym, didn't work. I tried eating healthy, didn't work. Like, what's the secret, right? So then, like literally within a week, I went and got certified as a trainer and started the company. And then like a year or two later, moved down to LA and then started training with celebrities. And then, Arnold Schwarzenegger, all these guys. Because I wanted to learn from the best. That's like one thing I've always loved doing is learning from the elite. And then literally like it got to a point where I had a full-time corporate consulting job working with hospitals. Got to a point in 2020 when I just couldn't do both anymore. And so I had to let go of my corporate career and do this full time. And the month I went full time, I quadrupled the business. And now I have like 3 other people working for me. And we continue to help a lot of people throughout the world, throughout the country. And it's been amazing what Training with Titans turned into.
I love that, man. Yeah, no, I've been able to see it actually, because I think I've known you for about that time. Well, I think BDB was like 3 years ago,
80%
actually.
of that time. 80% of
Yeah,
that time.
yeah. It's crazy, and I love seeing the before and afters. They don't look real, to be honest. Like some of them, I'm like, whoa, like that guy went from
Yeah.
like normal body to like shredded, and they look happy, and it looks like they take on the identity. So let me ask you, somebody listening to this, you're gonna get CEOs. Maybe they've tried to implement some programs within their company as well, but they're always busy. What are some common mistakes that you see people when they begin this process? Kind of enlighten us on just the beginning, like starting or deciding, I'm gonna work out, I'm gonna do my diet, I'm gonna get fit. What are some mistakes that happen right off the bat?
Right off the bat, I think people go way too hard and then they burn out. Right. So it's like, hey, like I'm going to get in shape this Monday. I'm going to start this Monday. So the first thing they do, they drop all carbs, they drop all sugars, they drop everything that tastes good, and they add everything that doesn't taste good. Then on the other side with workouts, they're going from a completely untrained body to every day going to the gym. I'm going to do 75 hard. I'm going to do 2 workouts a day all of a sudden, right? I'm going to drink 3 gallons of water a day, and I'm gonna just do all of this. And guess how long that lasts? 3 days, 3 weeks max. But it never leads to anything good, right? And there are times when people do that, and then 3 years later, I still get the message that, bro, like I fell out of it, like it just didn't work for me. So going too hard, too fast is a recipe for disaster. When it comes to health and fitness, we want to set it up in a way because I coach a lot of CEOs, and one of the first things we do is I look at their schedule. Like I'm obsessed with routine, so I'm like, hey, like Angel, for example, like what time do you wake up on a Monday? Oh, I wake up at this time. Okay, what time? What do you do the first thing? Okay, like I do this, and then like looking at their schedule, I go to work at 9 a.m. I have 3 kids. I'm married. Okay, do you go to an office or work from home? Oh, I go to an office. There's that commute part. Okay, like what time do you get home? I get home at 7 p.m. Okay, what do you do after that? Play with my kids, have dinner with my wife. Then what do you do? Okay, like I just I drink beer and then go to bed. Okay, cool. So now we know what we're working with. So like I will make 1 or 2 small changes to get them started. And then week 2 we'll add one more thing. Week 3 we'll add one more thing. And then before you know it, we've totally hardwired their brain into these slow changes because slow leads to really long-term results, right? And when I say slow, we still get hella results, right? We'll still, because we know what works and what doesn't, right? Like I was talking to a Fortune 500 CEO the other day, and he's like, yeah, man, like last time I got in shape, I quit caffeine, I quit this. And like he named like 9 things. And I was like, like the only things that actually got you results were 2 of those 9. So you could have not done the other 7 and still got those results. He's like, really? I was like, yeah. So efficiency, right? So when you work with an expert, I know that 20% that gets you 80% of results. Versus on your own, you'll try left and right. And like a lot of those things don't actually contribute, but they add stress to your life, which means you're likely to give up very quickly. And so that's like our methodologies. Like everything's custom to that client, their lifestyle, their family routines, their culture, whether they're vegetarian, whether they like fasting, whether they like ketogenic style, like whatever they like, we try to make it work with that.
Okay, so fully customizable, and the first thing would be, I like that. Hiring an expert does do that, right? Like the 2 or 3 things that work, and then you don't have to do all the other crazy stuff, right? Um, real quick, because this is just went through my brain. Do you agree with Alex Hormozy about never skipping dessert?
Yeah, I think Alex is in a unique. Like I've known Alex since like 2018. Great dude. So the thing with Alex that a lot of people don't understand is Alex has been training since he was 15. He's 33 years old now, so he's been literally strength training as well as being. He was a competitive powerlifter for a long time. So that dude has 50 pounds more muscle than an average CEO out there. So when Alex, his body composition is 50 pounds of active muscle tissue. And let me explain, because I don't think people understand this part, Angel, which is like 1 pound of muscle burns 60 calories a day, even if you don't do anything. Okay? So
Oh,
like,
okay. Hold on, let me write this
so,
down. Hold on.
so if Alex Hormozy so if Alex has 50 pounds of muscle, let's do some simple math. 50 pounds of muscle compared to an average guy. That means Alex is burning 3,000 calories a day without even moving. Okay? Just by being alive. That's the cost of having active muscle tissue. Most guys have 50 pounds of extra fat. You know what fat is? Fat is not an active tissue, which means you don't burn any calories by having fat. But when you have muscle, you're burning calories just to be alive, right? Like even when you're sleeping, you're burning calories. So that's why like guys that do strength training for long periods of time, they build more muscle. They can eat donuts, they can eat dessert all the time. But Jones over here, who's 50 pounds of fat overweight, Jones smells a donut and gains 10 pounds, right? It's all about body composition. So Alex can get away with 3,000 calories of dessert a day if he wants to, because for the last 19, 20 years, he's been lifting heavy ass weights all the time, and he's built like a Greek god. So to like never skip dessert, I mean, all my clients eat dessert all the time. But the thing
Yeah.
is, like, I want the average person, average CEO out there to realize that if they're 50 pounds of fat overweight and they start adding more dessert, more calories to their diet, they're all going to get fatter. So that's one nuanced detail that I hope everybody realizes.
Yeah, no, I don't think a lot of people. I actually didn't know that. I didn't know that, and that's actually kind of cool because that also means you have to eat, like I have to eat the right amount of calories, because if I don't, then I'm just burning too much. I won't be able to go up in weight just from the the active muscles that I have, which is now I just realized I have to eat more. Literally, just by this call, I'm like, okay, I need to eat a little bit more. Luckily, I eat good because I'm type 2 diabetic, so I have no choice. But that's when I started learning more about health when I didn't have a choice. How many people tell us a little bit more about choices? I guess that's where I want to learn a little bit. I think what I admire about you a lot, man, is when you say you're gonna do something, it almost sounds like you narrowed down a lot of availability. Like you're just like, this is what we're doing, this is what we're gonna do. How important is choices and control, or choices and control when you begin this fitness process?
It's everything. And that's why, like, when you hire a coach, for example, in any endeavor, whether it's business or fitness, your chance of succeeding go up by 3.4x. So, like, if you set a goal, you try doing it on your own, versus if you set a goal and hire a coach to support you in that goal, your chance of succeeding with the coach is 3.4x. Who wouldn't take those odds, right? That's why, like, I have coaches for every area of my life because they make life better. So, like, I'm like a walking example of what I preach. When it comes to fitness, there are a couple things, right? If you go around town and you ask people, like, hey, do you know how to get in shape? Almost everybody will say, eat less, move more, right? Oh, I know how to eat healthy. I get these messages every day. I know how to eat healthy. I'm not losing weight. I know how to work out. I'm not losing weight. And it's like, maybe you're missing parts of those puzzles. Maybe, like, so I asked them, like, further questions. I'm like, Angel, so let's say you told me you know what to do when you go to the gym, right? I'll be like, okay, bro, like, when you walk into the gym, what do you do? They'll be like, oh, I run on the treadmill. It's like, okay, how long? 10 minutes. Okay, what do you do after? Well, it depends. I'm like, what do you mean it depends? They're like, well, some days I just do this. And a lot of the time the answer is I just do dumbbell curls and I do this and then I stretch and then I leave, right? No strategic plan. Well, I'm like, okay, what do you mean when you eat healthy? Oh, like I don't eat any meat. I quit eating red meat 10 years ago. I don't do any sugar. I don't like dairy. I don't like this. And I'm like, you literally just eliminated 90% of essential amino acids from your diet. What else,
Mhm.
right? So it's like a lot of the time we assume we know everything, right? We assume we know how to eat healthy. We know how to train healthy. We know everything. Yet here we are, 60 pounds overweight, right? In a society with 49% obesity rate. So it's kind of fascinating how I always think of it like this, like 49% obesity rate in a society, and 75% of people get nutrition advice from their friends. So it's
That's
like,
wild.
all right. So when it comes to choices, right, that you're referring to, bro, choices boil down to certainty, right? So it's like when you work with an expert, for me, for example, I've done it 431 times with different clients over the last 5 years. So when somebody comes to me, I can narrow down their choices because I've done it so many freaking times, right? I can narrow down like the things they should focus on and be like, hey man, you love coffee. Why do you need to quit it? Don't quit it. Like, it doesn't even matter, right? Or you love eating dessert. Okay, we'll make room for it, right? Because it doesn't matter as much as you think it does. So at the end of the day, it's all about knowing with certainty. Because let's say, like, average person, they have never been in shape before. As they got older, they kept putting on more fat. And now that person is like, they have all these choices. They can do vegan diet, Oprah Winfrey's diet, freaking ketogenic diet, 75 hard. They can do F45. They can do Orange Theory. They can join a local gym. They can hire a trainer. They can do Weight Watchers. Freaking plethora of choices, right? So that person, they have never done it before, so they don't have the mental capacity to distinguish which works best for them. So what they do is they try Weight Watchers. They do it for 3 days. Doesn't work. Fuck it. This is not for me. Let's go to the next one, F45. I don't like how the classes are set up. It's too hard. Okay, let's go to Orange Theory. That doesn't work. Okay, let's hire a trainer at the local gym. And that's if that person is persevering, right? Like if they're
Hmm.
continuously doing. Most people try one thing and they quit, right? So narrowing of choices comes down to one thing, that is knowledge. And you can either do so much and actually acquire the knowledge over 10 years, or you can hire someone that has those 10 years already, pay them some money, and boom, you get to borrow all of that. So, like, when it comes to choices, and if you can't discern which choice to go with, it literally comes down to you not having the adequate knowledge or skills. And you can learn that, right? Like, you
And,
can either
and
pay someone
and
to teach you or.
if I don't have the knowledge though, Mo, like if I don't have the knowledge, but I really want this, how do I? I mean, I'm sure, and I've done it, where you hire the wrong coach, or where
Mhm.
it looks good, but it's not really that good. let's say I'm like, all right, I'm in, I want to do this. How do I even look for a coach, or who do I look for? What would be the best way to find, like, how do I even come across Coach Moe?
I think the best thing to that was a tough one, right? Like because a lot of the most famous, popular fitness Instagrammers or Facebookers, right, or YouTubers, they have very cookie cutter programs, right? They sell $40 program, which is a PDF that just sits in people's downloads folder and they never even do anything with it, right? The way you find, like for me, yeah, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Coach Mo, Training with the Titans, and get in touch with me. But I think talk to people, right? Like talk to, like book a call with me, like talk to me, whether you like our vibe, you like our way of doing things or not, just go to the next one, right? And I would say like interviewing is probably the best thing you can do when it comes to like working with the right fitness coach, because you have to find someone whose program fits you and who you would admire as a coach. Because that's one thing in the
Mm,
coaching industry no one talks about. You have to, just like getting married and stuff like that, you have to be able to respect that person. So if you don't respect your coach, you will naturally not really listen to them because you're like, yeah, I know better. Well, like, no shit. Like, if you knew better, you would have better results. But at the end of the day, maybe you don't respect certain things about that coach. Well, in that case, don't hire them. But at the end of the day, I think respect goes a long way, because when I work with clients and let's say like one of the clients is slacking or they're not doing it, I just pick up the phone and call them and I'm like, what's going on? Right. And it comes from a place of empathy and love. They respect me enough to be like, coach, I'm so sorry I let you down. I'm going to get back on track to someone tonight or tomorrow. Right. So you have to be able to respect whoever you hire. And yeah,
that is
coaching,
underrated.
because coaching is not about buying like a program, right? Because that's, you can buy programs left and right. You can buy like a diet plan, a freaking workout plan, but the failure rate on those is 94 freaking percent. So what is it that gets people? Like in our program, we have like a 98% success ratio because coaching is the important part. It's like getting someone to do a workout for like 3 months, that's not the hard part. Getting them to do it for the rest of their lives and hardwiring it into their brain that this is who they are. So it becomes part of their identity. Like, I'm a goddamn athlete. I don't eat like that. I'm a goddamn athlete. I train like this. I sleep like this. I hydrate like this. I don't get belligerent drunk every Saturday and Sunday because I'm a goddamn athlete. Right? Like that identity shift,
Yeah.
that's coaching. Right? That's the power of like I have clients that I coached 5 years ago, and they're still in amazing shape today because I'm still in touch with them, right? So the beauty is like coaching can hardwire you differently, so like you never lose that, right? Like in business, it's like Alex Modi often says this, there's no six-figure entrepreneurs or seven-figure. There's no six-figure, seven-figure, eight-figure businesses. There's six-figure entrepreneurs, seven-figure entrepreneurs, nine-figure entrepreneurs. The same thing here, right? Like you have to become that person that can keep those results. And to do that, we have to switch some things here. And that takes habits, right? Like we often say, like it takes about 3 to 6 months to build a habit, 16 to 18 months to change your behaviors, and then 3 to 4 years to change your identity. And it's super powerful, dude. Right? Like in a world where everybody wants to lose 30 pounds in 10 days, nobody actually wins with that. Like the amount of
Yeah.
people that fail in those programs is super, super high, right? So that's, I mean, yeah, it goes for anything. You can look at business the same way. You can look at sales the same way, right? There's no like to become a sales closer, you're gonna need to do a lot of reps. And when you do those
Yeah.
reps, it becomes second nature. Like a really good closer can close a sale with their eyes closed,
Yeah.
versus a beginner would have to like read through the script and keep the script in front of them and make sure if this objection comes, I'll say this, right? But a really good closer, it just becomes second nature. It's who they are, like day and night. Like they get on a call, boom, boom, boom. They can relate to the person. There's all of that. So that's how I look at fitness too. I think it's the same thing.
No, I think you hit a good point. I'm actually like looking back on when I met you, when I did it, and now. I mean, again, it's been about like 3 years, and I think it's been like
Three and a half.
now. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, actually, because it was when you actually decided to go full time. That's when I met you,
Yeah.
by the way, which is crazy. Um, Now, even 3.5 years, you're right. It does take 3 to 4 years for it to become like like this is not like this is me. Like if I don't gym, I feel weird. Like if I get sick or something and my
Yeah.
body needs rest, I'll rest, but my mind's already like, what's going on, man? Like why are we not at the gym? But it does take a while, right? And it does take a lot of commitment and figuring it out. Let me ask you, okay, so I really enjoy knowing that like one active muscle pound burns 60 calories. What are some other uh health things that we should be looking out for that we should know? Like, okay, you got me, Mo. I need to do something. What should I start doing now? What are some small things, maybe at home, or what do I start watching? First, I'm gonna book a call with you, of course, which we'll put the link to book a call with Coach Mo here in the show notes. But what are some things they can start doing or start watching?
I think the first thing being like if you're working from home, get a standing desk. Um, and if you have the funds, just get a treadmill desk, right? Like, get a standing desk, get a treadmill underneath, and get a lot more steps in throughout the day. Because I'm in Michigan right now. It's gonna start getting cold in another couple of weeks, right? So then, like half of America is in cold winter, so you can't go outside for walks. You can't keep yourself as active. So I would say like get a standing desk, get a treadmill underneath, so you have more steps. But another thing I would do, bro, is like start paying attention to what you're consuming, what you're eating, right? Even if you know how much calories you're eating, even if you like, even a little bit helps. Because too many people are moving too little and eating too much, and that seems to be the case. And this is before we even do any weights or resistance training or strength training or any of that, right? So like watch what you're eating, right? Maybe use like an app like MyFitnessPal and start tracking what you're eating. And second thing is get more steps in throughout the day. Just keep your body active. Maybe, and that maybe means like you wake up early and then you go for a 30-minute walk in the morning, right? And then I
Yeah.
would add one last thing I would add is start taking your health seriously. Because too often, like we always talk about, like, oh, get abs, get six pack abs, do this, do this. Most of the big CEOs that I talk to, they don't want abs. They don't care for it. They just want to be healthy. They have more energy. And they want to feel better mentally, mental clarity. So mental clarity comes down to nutrition, right? Feeling better and actually like being able to stay in shape. That comes down to your training. And you don't have to follow the advice of bodybuilders or guys that have really good physiques online. Because I can tell you, being in this industry for so long, 99% of those guys with really good physiques are on steroids.
Yeah.
99% of the time. Even if they say they're not. It's so easy to identify who's on steroids and who's not. So like you don't fall into that trap, right? Like don't. What I would suggest is have good expectations, start your journey, make small changes as you go, and then just don't freaking stop. And if you get stuck or you've been doing it for a while, just not seeing the results that you're getting, that means your strategy is off, and that's why you book a call with me and like we'll talk through it. But overall, like I think those would be like the 3 or 4 biggest things you can start doing.
What one so I have a few questions, but one of the questions is like, what if I fail? What if I start doing this and then I fail? Like I say I'm not gonna do it, and then I end up eating like 6 donuts one day out of freaking impulse and mental. Like I used to not be able to control what I ate. I'm not gonna lie. Like I would see a cake or a
Yeah.
donut, and I would be like, "Let's eat it all," and then that would guilt trip me, and then I wouldn't want to work out, and then I would feel shitty about myself, and then so like, how do you deal with when a student doesn't do what they say they were gonna do? Is what are the approaches? What are like the benefits and consequences type of game here?
Nothing. Just if it happens, it happens. Get back on track next day.
I love
That's
that.
literally how
I
we do
love
it.
that.
And if we, let's say you're my client and you ate 6 donuts on Sunday, perfect. We'll keep that in mind. That means you love donuts. So I might even force you to eat one donut a day until you get to a point where you start hating donuts. You're like, I don't want this anymore. So we use the
I
we,
love
we,
that.
we like I literally have done that. Like I had a client once who ate a lot of dates one day out of the blue. He's like, I love dates. I'm like, perfect, one a day every day. And I got to a point on day 11 when he's like, fuck, I'm tired of eating dates. so, um, so that's literally the
Uh,
game. That's literally the game. And
it's
that's how you break
amazing.
bad habits. And I learned that from Tony Robbins.
That's
He was helping
amazing.
someone quit. He was helping someone quit smoking. And that's literally what he had him do. He's like, He just sat down with them and was like, keep smoking. He bought him a lot of cigarettes. He's like, keep smoking. Until he got to a point where he's like, I don't want to smoke anymore. I'm done. So you gotta
That's
like,
amazing.
you gotta go to the extremes to break some really hardwired patterns because you realize like, God, this does not serve me. But having
Yeah.
one a day, it's not going to kill you. But you'll get to a point where you're like, God, I don't. I feel like shit when I eat these donuts. It's like, okay, the next time you're in a stressful situation, you'll probably think of like something healthier. You'll think of like a Greek yogurt with blueberries and some little chocolate chips in there, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
instead of eating like a 300-calorie donut with 92 grams of sugar, like
I think what you just said right there, man, is so huge. I think one of my friends did it. He's a recovery coach, like for addicts, and he's like, dude, most people think I want to put them in a box and take them away from what they're addicted to, and I'm like, no, lean into it. He's like, we'll put them in more situations with that specific thing there, that after a while they're like, why am I here? Like, what am I doing? Like you start leaning into the problem. How smart is your body, man? I ask that because your body will tell you, and I think a lot of people, we don't know how to read our bodies, right? We want to grab the donut because we think we want sugar, but in reality, it could be a secondary reaction from something that one time we were stressed and we ate a donut and it felt good. Like, how do we learn how to read our bodies throughout this process?
the way to learn to read your body is to have a lot of self-awareness. And that comes down to sitting down with yourself in silence a lot, often. Meditating every day. The more you meditate, the more you can actually be self-aware. Viktor Frankl wrote an amazing book. It's called um, A Man's Purpose. I forgot the name of the book. It's a really good book. I'll send it to you later. But in that, there's basically he says a quote. He's like, between stimulus and response, there's that pause, and
Mm,
that's where the decision is made. So, like when you get that stimulus, an urge to eat something, and then the time you actually go and grab a donut to eat it, there's that period in the middle. And that period is what everybody has. Everybody can get exposed to the same stimulus and have a different result, right? Some will eat it, some will not eat it, some won't even care to eat it, some will like be like, oh, I really want to eat it, but I wouldn't eat it, right? There's like four outcomes that can happen. But it's that waiting period in the middle, that is self-awareness. If you are somebody that can look, that can take your urges that are coming your way, be like, yeah, don't matter, I don't need it. Like I don't
that
want it. I don't need it. Right? Dude, the amount of if you can master that, you master life. That's the
that
ultimate
you're not
question in
wrong.
life.
You're not.
Like how often do people go and spend money on things they don't need? How often do people do things they don't want to do, but the urges get them to do it? And that's because they don't have that waiting period in the middle, that time in the middle where it's like, I can live without this and walk away.
That's yeah.
In the Matrix, they call it woman in the red dress, right? It's like when the woman in the red dress shows up in your life, she's tempting. She's everything you want, but you know she's not real. And she's not going to give you real pleasure, real fulfillment, real satisfaction, but she's goddamn tempting. So a real man goes after his mission regardless. He knows he's trying to get in shape. He's going to run this marathon. He's going to be in this powerlifting competition. He's going to win, 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 right? But a person that is like, haven't had enough self-awareness, they'll be tempted, go towards the woman in the red dress, just stab them and done, right? So it's like, that's the whole game. When your body, right, like your body tells you certain things, but do you know how to read it? Does your mind have the self-awareness to read it properly? Like people say, oh, I'm really hungry. Well, that's your body's way of saying that it might just be bored, it might just be thirsty, or it might actually be craving real nutritious foods. But you took it as, I'm hungry, so I must eat that cookie, right? But
Yeah.
that's as a beginner, you don't know how to read those. I mean, dude, like you coached on sales for a while. I don't know if you still do or not, but like in sales, if a prospect says it's too much money, a beginner would think, oh, like that's what that means. But at the end of the day, it's like they might not see the value in your program. You might not have explained it properly. You might not have. made them feel understood about their needs, and you might have just been pushing your product, right? So same thing here. So when it comes to reading your body, you have to have the self-awareness to realize where you're at, right? Like sometimes you're a complete beginner thinking you know everything there is to know about fitness,
I
and
that
the
dude,
way your
though,
body
that
language
little
is not
thing right there was
yeah.
so impactful. That right there between stimulus, to like the moment it happens or the moment something like there's a small pause and that's where decision is made, and that is how you learn about your body. That is, I couldn't agree more. Like when you say I'm hungry, I've seen so many people say like I'm hungry after we ate, including myself, and I'm like, what just happened? Like I've stopped and I'm like, why does my body think it's hungry, or my mind? Why did I translate it as I'm hungry? And I think I still remember one of the advices you gave me a while back, which was whenever you think you're hungry, just chug a cup of water, and let's see how hungry you are afterwards. And so every time I'm hungry, or quote unquote hungry, and I know that it's not real because I just ate or I just ate my protein, I'm like, let me drink, and then I drink water, and then my fiance would be like, "You want to eat more?" And I'm like, I actually just needed water. Like I actually just needed water. So it's really interesting. Sometimes hungry will also mean that I need to sleep, which I found so odd. Sometimes I'm like feeling like I need more and more, and I'm like, I think I actually just need a nap. And then I go sleep, and my body feels energized. How important is sleep and nutrition?
Sleep is everything. When you look at like, I did a whole presentation on it. So if you guys want like a sleep training, just message me on Facebook or Instagram. I'll send it to you. It's like 45 minutes. And sleep is like the most fascinating thing in the world, right? So if you look at like how everybody says we all get 24 hours in a day, and yet Elon Musk is able to accomplish so much more than the average person. Why is that, right? Or that person is able to do so much more than this person. We look at our lives, we have the same 24 hours, yet the outputs of our
Mm-hmm.
lives are radically different, right? And one of the best ways to actually get more output out of your waking hours is to sleep really well, right? To have, and there are two factors to sleep. One is quantity, one is quality. Quantity is the number of hours you sleep. Then there's the quality. How good is your sleep? How much deep sleep are you getting? How many times are you waking up in the middle of the night, right? And there's so many things you can do for sleep to improve it, but at the end of the day, knowing that sleep is important. The easiest thing you can do to actually get a good night's sleep repeatedly is to have a very similar bedtime. So I have a range where like those 15, 30 minutes, like at 10 p.m., 10 to 10:30, that's when I'm in bed. All my electronics are off. I'm reading a book. I'm drinking a cup of, like a celestial decaffeinated tea to like just calm me down. Because a lot of like CEOs, and I used to fall for this all the time, where it's like,
Yeah.
there's so much going on here that you just can't sleep. So you need a wind down routine every night. If you can start with that, I promise you things will start getting better. And then there's like different sleep supplements we tell our clients about. There's like other things you can do to optimize, but the starting point is always have a bedtime that
So
you
let's say
stick
I'm
to.
struggling to sleep, man. I'm just struggling to sleep. I need to implement a morning routine. Weird question. Is melatonin good for you? I've heard mixed feelings about it.
Melatonin, yeah. Melatonin is the naturally occurring hormone in our body that as the sun starts to set, our body starts to release melatonin to be like, yo, time to go to bed, right? Let's time to wind down. Problem is, blue light
Mm,
directly impacts that hormone. So, like if you're sitting on your laptop, you're watching TV, you're looking on your smartphone, right? You're scrolling, you're checking emails, right? Even though it's dark outside, the lights, the electricity we have, it makes our brain think that it's still daylight, right? So melatonin cycle gets impacted greatly. Okay. So like what happens is melatonin gets in like 90 minutes. So it's the moment like melatonin starts kicking in, about 90 minutes later, you start feeling like the effects of it. And what happens is when we're constantly checking our phones, every minute that you're on your phone, you're delaying that cycle of melatonin, leading you to sleep. So that's why like you see the popular blue blockers that people wear nowadays, and it's like all of those things. But at the end of the day, melatonin that's naturally occurring. But people, what happened was, started taking melatonin to actually be like a way to tell the body that, yo, like, even though I'm getting blue light, melatonin's still kicking in. So your body's like, okay, like, fuck it. I think I'm wrong. So let me just help and fall asleep. Problem is, It happens with testosterone replacement therapy. It happens with everything. When you start injecting your body with the hormone that is naturally producing, what do you think
It
happens to
slows
the
down
naturally
or it doesn't
producing
do it.
hormone?
Yeah.
It stops. It stops. Because it's like, why do I need to work so hard to produce all these things? Because all these chemical processes take up energy, and our body's always trying to save energy. So when you give it
Producing more.
melatonin, it's not going to start.
Whoa.
Like, it's going to stop those processes, right? So, like, when people go on testosterone replacement therapy, why do you think like those people have reproductive issues later on, or they start like they're like my naturally occurring testosterone stops, so they have to keep doing it for the rest of their life, right? So once you go on steroids, once you stop, you feel some radical changes in your body, right? Some guys, after they've been in a bodybuilding career of steroids, they get to a point where they can't have kids. Their body stopped producing sperm a long time ago. So like, there's like a lot of these side effects that no one talks about. So melatonin, I mean, it's naturally occurring hormone, so it can be bad for you. But you also have to remember that you're signaling your body that, hey, you can kind of like slow down. You're naturally producing. So what happens when one day you're on a road trip or something like
You're
that,
just
and you're
like,
going to bring your
um,
melatonin pills? Well, your body's going to be fighting you. So that's why like
interesting.
I try to not take in a lot of those things and try to like, because your body can heal itself, right? Your body, like if you do the right things, if you start training heavy, I promise you, I always tell clients, you can't fall asleep, go and do 10 sets of deadlifts for 10 reps and like pick away the
Oh yeah,
stuff.
your body.
I
Every time
promise
we
you, you'll
do it,
sleep
your
like a
body
baby
will
that
just
night.
want. You just start
So
like
it's like,
wanting to like go to sleep. It's interesting.
there's no, when I was doing powerlifting competitively, bro, like 8 hours of sleep wasn't cutting it. I needed nine, right, to recover my body. So like, a lot of us, our bodies were built to do hard physical things. Now we just work on laptops and like those construction guys across the street. Do you
They're
think
probably
they
the ones
struggle
that
falling
just
asleep? Be honest.
30 seconds and they're out.
Fuck no. Right. Right. So the point is like we need to do the things our body wants to do versus just take more chemicals, put them into our body, and be like, this is gonna fix it. Because like, has it fixed it? Probably not. And you're just gonna, what happens is you get used to melatonin. You go back to your doctor. You're like, doc, melatonin didn't work. Doc puts you on the next high drug, next high drug. What's the like? Just coming back to the root. And being like, I am overweight. I am obese. I'm not eating healthy. I'm not training properly. So what reason does my body have to
No,
rest and
yeah.
recover? Like my body is just vibing and it's just going towards the wrong trajectory. Um, so I always think of like I think that's what differentiates training with the Titans and our coaching methodology is like we don't want you to start consuming chemicals like all those transformation pictures you talk about. I get comments all the time like, "You put them on steroids." I was like,
You really
"Don't do
do?
that."
That's crazy.
Like all of these are natural transformations. Yeah, like like there's several times when that happened, and people have messaged me and they're like, "Yeah, dude, this guy's shoulders got bigger," and I'm like, "Yeah, because he lost fat, so the definition showed up." But at the end of the day, like natural routes are better. And there's like I know a lot of hippie coaches talk about natural remedies and blah blah. Like I'm not that. I don't like. I have like a STEM education. I have a bachelor's of science in bioinformatics, which is computational biology. Like I spent half my life studying biology and chemistry. So like I'm not anti big pharma or any of that. But I would say is like there are better ways to heal your body and make it so it's like trained by itself with the healthy things that it wants to do. Right? Like if you're overweight, bro, focus on losing the fat and not all the biohacking tricks to get you more productive. Like your body just doesn't have the work capacity because you haven't used it in a long time.
No, man, you're hitting. I know we're
So yeah,
coming into the time here, but you hit on a lot of points. Like I'm over here nerding out. You're about to make me join your program again. No, I really I really enjoyed like
let's do it.
how you position things. You know what I mean? My biggest like health shift when I became type 2 diabetic. It's so funny that you say that because you're like, if your body already produces it, learn how to trigger it, learn how to activate it, allow it to do its thing. Because the human body and mind is wild beyond our belief, right? And it's funny when I became type 2 diabetic, it basically means that I'm resistant to insulin, right? But people don't. I went like on these deep dives on because I was like, I'm not gonna live like this. Some people go blind, some people lose their legs, some people, and I'm like, all right, let me deep dive this, like, and it basically means like you do have insulin in your body, but you're just resistant to insulin. And I was like, that's odd. So they taught me to inject myself. That's the basic, the first thing doctors tell you. Here's insulin. If you eat bad or if you eat dessert, inject yourself. And I was like, well, that's odd because that means I'm resistant to insulin. So you're saying that I inject to help myself, but if I'm resistant and I keep putting it and I keep putting it, and I noticed it kept getting bigger and bigger, and I was like, I'm just messing up my body. So I was like, I just cold turkey. I stopped. I was like, I'm gonna eat right. And you're right, my body takes care of of me now, which is really interesting. But that with melatonin, with testosterone, all that put together. All right, man, that was a great podcast. I gotta ask you. So let's say somebody sees the title, they say, "Huh, health and fitness," or I'll come up with a really cool title here with Coach Moe. They go research training with the Titans. They're like, "This is cool." But before they listen to the whole podcast, they skip to the end of the podcast because I always ask this one question. If they had to remember you by one thing, or you had to give them one simple advice, anything, so that they can go back and say, okay, let me listen to the whole podcast then, what would that one thing be?
It will be the belief that regardless of how busy you are, regardless of how many children you have, like how hectic your life is, you can be healthy. I can promise you that. I've done it. I've done it with so many clients. Like it can be done. We just have to find a way that works for you. So like don't ever use your busy schedule, your busy career, your busy school, your busy family life as an excuse to not be healthy. Because I promise you, you're doing a detriment to your next generation and the generation after that. Every client I work with, for example, I feel this moral obligation to get them in the best shape because I know their next generation will watch that and their next generation will watch that. Like, look at how obesity is so generational, right? And so, like, please do it for your lineage, do it for your next generations. Like, get in the best shape, take care of yourself because your kids will watch your actions more than they watch your words. And even if you don't want kids, there are people in your circle that'll start getting inspired by you. There are people that used to make fun of my fitness journey 8 years ago. Now they become clients, right? So it's like the point being is you don't know who you're inspiring, and you are not just one person who's getting healthy. You're connected to a node of hundreds of people that are watching you. And if you get healthy, you'll impact those hundred and their families and their families and their families. And yeah, you can do it. Like if there's one thing you walk away from this podcast, it's like I don't care how busy you are, you can still do it. Like there are ways, there's simple things we can make in part of your lifestyle that'll
And
just
book a call with him. I
transform
put
your
it here
day.
in the show notes. I know for a fact he'll be able to figure out. Like if you're like, I've worked with 10 coaches, no one's been able to figure it out. I guarantee you, Mo will be able to figure it out. And man, it's what you just said right there is so true. For generations to come, what you do right now with your business might flop, anything might flop, but your health is going to stay there. Dude, it's the 49% obese. 1 out of 3 people are pre-diabetic, which sounds, I'm like super passionate about diabetes now, but one out of 3 people are pre-diabetic, and it's all from nutrition,
Yeah,
sleep, and stress. Doesn't that make sense? Like, doesn't even make sense. And that's a chemical reaction in your body after a while. So if you get to work with people like Mo before things get tough, that's when it's working. So, anyways, man, it's been a pleasure to have you, brother. I'll put everything here in the show notes. I'll put the sleep training too. Anything that you have, send me over to me. I'll put it here on the show notes. And thank you so much for being here, brother. I appreciate you.
totally. You got it, bro. Take care.